our ideas for the park. What we started off with is we came up with these what we call bubble diagrams. It's really a way, it's not a real design, it's a way of sort of laying things out, what would be good next to each other. And for each of the parks, we came up with like 3 different bubble diagrams. So for Shorefront, we really looked, we're going to keep the performance area where it is. We heard from the village that maybe it would be a good idea to flip the ball field. Better orientation moves that backstop away from the busy area near to the performance space, so it would really free up a larger area for the performance space. So this is the first diagram we came up with, which really shows some mounds here. We have an esplanade along the waterfront, some berms behind there. The playground is more or less in the same place, putting green over here, and then we introduced a ice skating park plus splash pad over here, well, really a sort of splash pad ice skating park up near the entrance. So that was one option, expanding the parking over here. The second option, we came up with a kind of a large entrance turnaround, so you have a good entrance to the park. Again, we rotate the ball field, and in this one, the esplanade is more sort of sinuous and comes along the edge, goes back from the edge, and that opens up places where you could do the planted edge, you could do the sand edge, as we showed in those images. And then we have this large open mounded area with a pavilion up here, some putting green back here, and the 9/11 memorial planted edge over here. So we located parking here and kept the baseball field. And then the third option is a sort of variation where we have the playground in the center, again, berms, planted edge. So we actually thought that option 2 was the preferred option. For us, that seemed like it had the most going for it. Should we take questions? If you have a specific question about...
Just observation, I've seen many there, and I've seen a lot of more balls hit, and the way the ball field is situated, people would be hitting the ball on the roadway, and if you turn the whole playground, so it's close to Smith Street, and it's built by the shoreline. If a power hitter comes up and hits the ball over the fence, it's not going to go onto a roadway. So, just a suggestion.
Okay, definitely did that, right. So just to sort of explain the park plan as we have it now. So starting with the field, taking that comment into account. We have the ball field. We have gained some property here through the New York Rising program. So this was a property that is now becoming vacant. That area will be used as a kayaking sailing facility. So that could have a dock there that allows kayak access into the water, sailing, the small sailing boats and kayaks. So if I just start here, maybe you have the large turnaround entrance. That really brings you to a central space with a play area. You've got the bathroom building there. So the play area is expanded and incorporates the splash pad around that. So this is the splash pad area, swings, the pirate boat play area. And that opens the esplanade along here, it opens up into that planted area. The putting green is moved up to here, and the adult fitness slightly away from the playground, so they have their own sort of use zones, but not too far away. This will become a rolling green lawn landscape with walking paths around it, and a pavilion that is up near the top, really, so you get a view. That could be used for kids for camp, or for family picnics, for shade, really whatever use you want to have for that. Along this edge, maybe you have some steps that go down to the beach. And we are showing the creek coming through here, opening that up into the pond. We'll talk about when we get to Wallbower. We think that's going to help with the flooding problems. Obviously, a lot more planting, so it's going to be much greener. We have bleachers and step seating around the home plate of the baseball field. A larger parking area here and basketball. So overall, there is 74 parking spaces provided here. This gives you a little blow up of the area around the play area. So you can see the pirate ship, some other play, introduce some trees and planting so you get some shade over the play areas and where the parents are sitting. The spray pool area, adult fitness. And this is the comfort station, so it's kind of opened up around that bathroom area, so you have better access to that, and the path going directly up to Wallbower. And this rendering is still sort of draft, but it gives you an overview. So you see Mascot Dock, the beach area where you could play beach volleyball or cube or just hang out. The planted soft edge here, the esplanade all along. You've got the benches with shade roofs over the top, so you've got some shade there. And you can see the playground splash pad area is very much expanded, and here is the turnaround, adult fitness, putting green. So walking path around this area, if you walk the whole circuit, would be approximately about half a mile to walk around that path. Okay, now I'm going to turn it back over to Beth to talk about Wallbower and Four Sisters, and then we'll come back and talk about Belsac.
Well, you mentioned the Elda tying into Shorefront Park and all that. Is anything going to be done with the Elda tie into the park?
Just in terms of the LDOT, we understand right now, we received what group? FEMA.
We are finally in progress on the money to repair the Mascot Dock. We've sent in and signed off the paperwork that we agreed to the money that they have said we can use, which is roughly $1.4 million to rebuild that dock. So when that's done, it will tie in a base where right now I think there's like usually a porta potty kind of there. So that will kind of all tie into the end where the that gazebo is.
The Elda will be rebuilt, just tie in with the
Correct.
boardwalk or whatever.
Correct.
Yeah. So definitely all the plans, we'll have to look at the engineering documents for the dock restoration and make sure everything like works together, because we want that to, you know, be able to walk from one part to the other totally seamless.
Well, just tie in.
Yeah, yeah, but you have to go, yeah, so that would stay, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, sorry, cold, yeah.
I completely disagree, because I have kids and we would be guys are on the line with
Well, I think one of the things with ice skating is it is a winter activity. It is cold when you stand there. When you start skating, you kind of warm yourself up. And it is a way, you know, for people who don't want to go out in the cold, okay. But for people who want to get out there and do some winter activities, I think it is a good way to get people out there to do winter activities. It's a good excuse to drink hot chocolate and really, you know, warm yourself up doing some active stuff in the winter. So, I mean, it's not right on the water to be a little bit sheltered from the wind, but not much, you know, we can do about this weather. But take your point, definitely. With the house? Oh. Kevin is, so Kevin walked from VHB. The question was, are you planning on ripping out the whole bulkhead? We really haven't made a final decision on that yet. This is something that he has to study further from an engineering point of view. So we have ideas for that, but it's going to require further study to really decide what the best and most cost-effective way to deal with that is.
Are you aware of why Shorefront Park was?
Well, are we aware of why the Shorefront Park floods? Let's let Kevin answer.
We're in the process right now, while these diagrams and concepts are being developed, we're in the process of looking at the historic surge elevations, historic flood elevations, things of that sort, so that when we do get to the point where we're coming up with a hard design for these edge treatments and the shoreline itself, that we can accommodate, you know, an elevation that makes sense from a cost-benefit analysis. In other words, you know, you can design for, you know, the X storm, that may cost you 5 times as much as designing for a more typical storm. So there's got to be some consideration of how much money you want to spend to protect you from what situation. And that's a whole analysis that's taking place kind of in conjunction with these designs.
And Kevin is also looking at the ponds and how the interaction between them.
When I'm a neighbor right next door to Shorefront Park, I lived there for 40 years. My house is maybe 30 feet from the water's edge. I have no boats. A lot of people don't understand that bulkhead is not protection.
Right.
It's destruction.
Right. Well, that's why
I
we're
never
looking at.
put a claim on my house. I have nothing happen to my house. You should come and speak with me.
Definitely.
And I'll tell you another thing. The bulkhead in Shorefront Park was put in about 38 years ago. And the low profile bulkhead was never meant to touch the water in the sheet. It set the high tide mark. So, the problem with Shorefront Park is over the years, because the bulkhead is this high.
Yeah.
It blows 10 miles an hour and it slaps
Yeah.
on you.
I've seen it.
Yeah, well, that's why we are looking at different edge treatments, the softer edge, the riprap, so breaking the force of the waves and not having
You
that.
can't control Mother Nature.
Yeah.
Commercial fishing, very much. It's not my house. I do have a lot of input. People were deaf ears and blind. I got tons of videos of old storms. I have great photographs. And maybe.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting. Yeah.
Please, let me get your name when we're through here.
It's not an issue down there.
Yeah.
Because I lived there before the bulkhead was there.
Right.
We'll be happy to
One
run through it.
of the, that's very valuable information, but there is also the permitting side of it and what DEC is going to let us do. So even if that might be the best, yeah,
It's not that difficult.
Yeah.
You live by yourself, without any turn.
right, right. So we do have to go through all those channels and get the permits.
Also, Smith Street would never have been raised if that bulkhead wasn't there, because Smith Street being raised has, it still floods.
Yeah,
And it's forced, bulkhead forced the water inland.
yeah,
There's no relief out. And Shorefront Park is set up, and they use Marty Guard as a crutch. Every time there's a flood, it throws the land, an extension of the water, it's coming on the house.
right.
That relief.
Well, I think that this is a discussion we should definitely continue. Yeah,
Let me get your, let me get your name and address afterwards and make sure we.
yes, we will. Okay.
I had a question about, we were talking about benches and park areas, picnic areas, I think those are great. But I'm wondering, are these gonna be like, you know, wooden benches we might have like planks over time? We'll be looking at recycle benches like we did in San Francisco.
Right, right.
And
Well,
even like 20 years ago, they're still standing.
right, well, as I said, this is not the detailed plan yet, so all of those details will get worked out. We do tend to use things like recycled plastic lumber. It's much more long-lasting than wood, much lower maintenance. So I think we would obviously be looking for materials that will last and not require a lot of maintenance, but are not too expensive. I mean, you know, there's a lot of expensive materials you could use, but recycled plastic lumber is a great material, especially for the waterfront. That's what we use for all the New York City Parks projects.
So I know some of it is expensive, but I also think about it in the long run.
Right, no, it's definitely worthwhile,
You
right?
don't want to put more money back into it later. You
No.
replace it.
Totally agree, right?
I just say it's all conceptual,
Mhm.
all conceptual.
don't have that at the moment. I think based on the feedback that we're getting tonight, we'd like to hear what people's priorities are. So as the Mayor mentioned, there is this benefactor who's provided $4.5 million. That's going to get you, quite a lot of good stuff, but not everything. So it really depends. What we hear is is Shorefront a priority? Is Wallbox? So we want to hear back from you what your priorities are, and then, and then we also have to go back and look at how much all of this stuff is going to cost, so that we can take what those priorities are and kind of say, well, if we have this much money, but this costs X. So we haven't really gone through that yet. We're just coming to you at the beginning of the process, and then we'll be.
Right, I'm just curious, if you had that plan in there, I'm sure you have a figure in mind on what your plans will cost.
Well, that's something we will be working out. We actually have not done the estimating of how much it's going to cost yet. And one of the costs, a lot of the costs is things that you don't see. For instance, the treatment of the edge and all the utilities. If you want lighting, if you want drinking fountains, all that stuff, all that infrastructure, the plumbing, the electricity, that costs a lot of money that you don't really see on the surface. So people are always kind of surprised to find out how expensive parks cost. I just saw an article in the New York Times this morning that they're building a $1 million dog run in Astoria, Queens, and people were shocked that a dog run could cost $1 million. I mean, obviously that's New York City, but things do cost a lot more just because of the infrastructure of everything that you have to do. And you think, for $1 million I could build a mansion, and all they can build is a dog run. But, it's what it is. Labor costs are not that cheap. So let's keep going, and then we'll take more questions at the end. I think we're going to get through all the other parts, but these are great questions. Oh, okay, well.
Speaking of the dog park, I noted that in the original police presentation to the board, and the two of them had dog parks at Shorefront Park. Did I see how dog park?
After talking to the village, we showed them our preliminary ideas, and we decided that Shorefront was not the best place for a dog park.
I agree, it's the other side of the street.
Well, we are showing a dog park in Horse Sisters Park.
The other side.
That's a perfect spot.
Yes, but of course, all the parks are open to dogs. People can walk their dogs in the park. Yeah, so we're showing a specific dog park in Horse Sisters, but not in Shorefront.
Okay, so now let's talk about Wallbower a little bit. We have some existing photos that show you basically that sort of one half of it is ball fields, and that remains